Brian Flores issued a statement yesterday regarding his lawsuit against the NFL, the Dolphins, the Giants, and the Broncos so far for a variety of claims led by systemic race discrimination. What's happened is the Dolphins sent a letter to the commissioner attempting to activate the arbitration provision in the Flores contract. Every NFL head coach signs a contract that includes a clause that says if there's ever any dispute, it's resolved by the commissioner or his representative. And if you want to be a coach in the NFL, you have to sign that contract. It's take it or leave it. And how many guys are going to say, well, I really would like to be a coach of an NFL team, but I don't know about this arbitration provision. You sign it and you move on. And it's odd to me, and maybe there's some trigger I'm not aware of where the Dolphins have to send this letter to the commissioner because obviously there's a proceeding in court where there's going to be a proper process there for the Dolphins to file a motion to compel arbitration. That's usually how it goes. So it's a little odd that the Dolphins sent a letter to the commissioner seeking arbitration of this dispute. And the other side of this to remember, it's a completely private and secret process. We won't have the benefit of monitoring it, of having transparency, and it's rigged. It's rigged.
Of course
We've heard
it is.
that word a lot in recent years.
Rigged.
This is rigged.
Yes.
The commissioner is bought and paid for by the teams. How many times do you really think the commissioner bangs a gavel and rules against the people who hire him, pay him, and decide whether or not to retain him? It is an inherent conflict of interest. I can't believe it's allowed. That's a different issue altogether. But in a situation like this, I've been saying this for weeks. If the NFL is serious about rooting out this problem, it's shameful to try to hide the process and take everything away from the light of day and have it resolved by a rigged process over which the commissioner or his representative presides.
Well, that's what they're gonna do. I mean, I want to hear your thoughts on what are the chances you think is likely that it won't go to arbitration. I mean, you just said it's odd that the Dolphins sent in this request. You know who told them to send in the request? Roger Goodell in the NFL. That's who told them to do it. I mean, this is part of a bigger play like you're talking about. Of course they don't want this to go to court and then have to talk about Stephen Ross publicly offering a coach $100,000 to lose football games. I mean, they don't want any of that. So, yes, it is rigged 100%. I mean, really, again, you have way more knowledge and a better feel for this. Like, what are the chances you think that this doesn't go to arbitration? Is there any chance at all?
Well, look, and this was one of the things that I wrestled with all the time when I was practicing law, because the trend was developing 15, 20 years ago where more and more businesses were trying to direct employment disputes to a private arbitration process where you don't have a jury, where you don't have transparency, where these claims never come to light because it's all handled in a conference room in a law office and it's resolved by a lawyer, one person, not by a group of people who hear these things and hold a major corporation accountable. And the trend has been moving in that direction. And the court system generally loves it because it takes cases off of the court system's docket. Judges don't get paid by the hour. They don't get paid by the case. They get a salary. They get paid by the year, as Michael Scott would say. So they love it when parties agree to an alternate process that removes cases from what otherwise is a clogged civil justice system. And judges typically handle civil and criminal. You got a criminal docket and a civil docket. You're busy. You're working all the time. It's a thankless job. Yeah, there's a status involved, but you bust your ass if you do the job right. So they like it when the parties have agreed to these other mechanisms, and they tend to enforce the Federal Arbitration Act in a way that forces these things to arbitration. And all the arguments have been made in the past, and it is an inherently conflicted situation for the commissioner or his representative, but that's the way it goes. So it's going to be difficult for Brian Flores. He's got a better argument from a PR perspective than a legal perspective. And that's what I want people to understand, what the NFL is trying to do here. The NFL is trying to hide what happened. The NFL is trying to conceal what happened. The NFL is trying to have its own rigged system determine the outcome of the case, not an independent party. The NFL doesn't want independent parties poking around its business. The NFL doesn't want independent judges deciding whether or not the NFL did something wrong. The NFL is obsessed with controlling its own backyard, with not airing out its dirty laundry, and it's not going to give up that power lightly. It dovetails with the Calvin Ridley stuff and the gambling situation. They don't want to have an agency that has oversight over the NFL.
Of course not.
They want to handle all their problems internally because they don't want they want to be able to say, well, we're not going to release these documents about the Washington investigation. We're not going to investigate the Cowboys voyeurism scandal, even though the commissioner just said a week before the Cowboys voyeurism scandal hit and it became obvious the league hadn't investigated, well, a team can't investigate itself. No, unless a team does and we decide not to go back and do anything about it.
It's laughable.
They want and they've achieved it. It works.
It does.
It works.
Of course it is.
They've achieved a world in which they do whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want. And if anyone says otherwise, they get upset, and they ultimately circle the wagons, and very rarely are they held to account by a third party. And no matter how hard any of us say it shouldn't be that way, it's the way it is. Kudos to them. Yeah. They figured it out.
No,
and through it all, the money keeps pouring into the coffers.
That's exactly right. They're killing it. They're dominating the American sports landscape. I mean, dominating. It's not even close. We know that. I mean, even what you saw on TV this year. And, yeah, there's no way. I mean, there's just no way. I would be absolutely shocked. You know, I mean, I'll kiss the ring of Don Corleone Florio or something if this goes to a judge. It's going to see arbitration. You said it. The NFL controls the narrative. That's the way they want to do it. And because the NFL is such a king of the media and there's always stuff to talk about, we have a hard time staying on a subject too long.
Objects.
Right. Oh, Aaron Rodgers got traded.
Objects.
The hell with everything else. Oh, Russell Wilson's there. Okay, the hell with all the other news that's behind the scenes in the NFL. So that's where they got it really good. They have mastered the calendar in relevant news always.
Here's the next step here. I know we got to take a break. The Dolphins have an easier arbitration argument because Flores had the contract directly with the Miami Dolphins.
Right.
The NFL, the Giants, and the Broncos look for them to make the argument that a clause in the NFL's constitution and bylaws applies to Brian Flores, and any of these claims he's trying to make must go to arbitration too, because that's what they're doing to John Gruden in his case. They're not relying on his contract. They're relying upon the NFL constitution and bylaws, which Gruden says were never even given to him when he signed the contract. So they're going to try to get the whole case into arbitration, and Flores and his lawyers are going to have a hell of a fight to keep it in court. And we support it entirely. Not that we're saying we're rooting for Flores. We're rooting for transparency.
Right.
We're rooting for
things
an
to be done
independent
right.
review of the situation and justice.
Yeah.
Not this rigged system, but true justice for both the NFL and for Brian Flores.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.